Good morning and welcome to another edition of Roadhouse Live. We are live. Today is June. I'll say it again, June 27, 2023. June Bender.
It is June. Yeah.
You know what I haven't seen very many of?
What?
June bugs. I've not seen very many June bugs.
Do you feel like you're missing out? Is that why you're bringing this up?
You know, I just haven't seen them. It's like they are named after a month, which means that they should be somewhere out and about. The June bug. Do you see a June bug where you're at?
We have June bugs.
Are there a lot of June bugs?
Yeah. Is there a reason for this conversation?
No, there really isn't.
Okay.
At all. It just randomly hit me once I said June. I was like, where are them damn June bugs? This is what happens with my mind sometimes. As I get kind of, I'd
let that one go. I'd let that one go. You'll end up in a padded room if you keep going, like trying to figure this out.
If we add up everything, I should have been in a padded room a little while ago.
Well, yeah, you just don't have to make sure you don't give them reason.
I'm going to give them all the reason in the world to come a knocking. All the reason. Come on with it.
Hells is just shaking in front of a mirror. Where's the damn June bugs?
Seriously, but where are they? They're necessary for the environment because they got to live so they can die, so they can replenish the earth. That's their job.
Well, not every place has June bugs, right?
Did you know that a lot of animals, their job is just to live so they can die, so they can enrich the soil? Like, that's their job. Yeah. That's their thing.
Yeah.
Do you think they know it?
No. Yeah, I hope not. I hope that if they are if that is their job, I would hope that they were made in such a way that they don't know, so they can just be comfortably doing their thing, but they're not self-aware.
Does that potentially make it more sad not knowing?
No. If that was my job, I think I'd want to be so dumb that it's like, everything's blue, or I don't know. No, I don't think they know. Anyway, do you have some market related commentary for us, or are we just going to talk about?
I have very little though. Just because there's very little. We do get some more data today. We get like new home sales, that kind of stuff coming out 30 minutes after open. All of the booger eating, pocket protecting dorks are in, I believe, Portugal, trying to talk about inflation, and they all just look at each other going, it's too high. It's too high. So central bankers are all over there just sitting around the table going, it's too high. But we all know they're not doing drugs, which is very disappointing, because if they were, they would at least be chill about the whole thing and be like, okay, well, yeah, it's too high. So now what are you going to do?
But I thought you were telling me inflation isn't a thing anymore.
It's not a thing anymore. And actually, here's an interesting take that we've talked about a couple of times, but it's a fairly interesting take as far as the inflation picture and interest rates, the battle of the Fed. Are we fighting the Fed, not fighting the Fed? We've been able to, exist, with a boisterous market with interest rates being somewhat elevated for years and years and years at a time. It appears now that the market is more content, not giving a fuck about interest rates, and more needing the data to continue to come in passable for the move to continue to go higher. It would appear that way. It would have appeared that way if you had a time machine to go back maybe 2-3 months ago. That was the tact that the market was taking. What becomes difficult with that is when you start pairing that against valuations and tearing that against the pressures that the Fed is trying to place within the economy, that could derail that. But again, on the flip side of that, when you go back to having Big Brother standing there being like, hey, no matter what, we got you, 1-800 cash call, it kind of takes the idea of bear out the window. What we do have here is a bit of a, I don't want to call it correction, but a bit of a pullback here within the markets. Based on, Stockington might come in and say, hey, this is the most risingest of wedges we've seen in a minute. But it looks as if we've been kind of in a little falling wedge over the past several sessions. You've pointed that out several times on the 1 hour, how we continue to make lower highs and lower lows, on this very controlled wibble wobble down. If I'm getting into some of the flow real quick that I think that matters, I think semi-flow is going to be really, really interesting. I think we have to keep a very keen eye on big money moving around AMD. It's down, 20% in what seems like 2 hours as far as it's moved down. NVIDIA flow also, we had a large put close out yesterday and a pretty decent 7-digit weekly call come in on NVIDIA. And as we're coming into open, it looks like tech wants to play leader. Another piece of the puzzle that I think is very important to be aware of, I believe bank stress tests, the results will be released tomorrow. And there's been a buzz as far as increased capital requirements as far as the majors being something that is going to be on the doorstep here pretty soon. However, when asked about it, Papa Powell saying, well, I don't know. We don't know. We don't have a plan. We just kind of think maybe. So I think that something could be within these stress tests that could, it's going to do one of two things, man. It's like banks have lagged substantially the overall market move. Maybe this is the catalyst and the all clear for banks to move, or maybe this is just the beginning of more of a down move on banks as far as it being, hey man, shit's a little bit more shaky than we'd like to admit. Another piece of it, several upgrades, downgrades, Meta upgrade, which is interesting. If you start looking at what they've been doing, Meta is okay. So some longer term Meta flow could be something to keep on watch and kind of follow if need be. My overall eye on the market now is seeing what we do with the low from yesterday. I don't believe we tested it overnight, but it would, to my eye, I still believe we come down and we play with that area. So on the NASDAQ specifically, I do believe we have another, from yesterday's close, probably another 15 to 20 points down. If that cracks, then, shit gets pretty wild as far as a downside move. SPY, I still think SPY comes down, breaks under this 430-ish level. I think 427.50, 428, somewhere in there seems to be an area that we could get, a legitimate bounce off a legitimate support. That's the area that I'm looking at. So the question that I asked myself this morning when I was going through everything, Bender, was, is this the dip to buy? Is this the dip to come in and play snatch and being like, okay, so let's get on the other side of the train and roll it back? For me, I think the jury is still out. But when I do my looks and my views and I counter that against the flow that we saw last week coming into this week, I think we could get a little bit more pressure to the down. What you got?
Yeah, I mean, look, we've been talking about, since we were kind of banging up around 4,500 that, there was some stuff that we had left behind that, we kind of been looking for this to happen. And you're right that it's been controlled. We've talked about the fact that it's not, it certainly hasn't been an aggressive sell-off, more so just a little profit taking, repositioning, that sort of thing. I'll go ahead and throw this chart up here. Here's a hourly chart on the ES, and yes, like we've been talking about every day, on the 60-minute chart, we continue to move down. We get some bounces, push down a little more, get a bounce, push down a little more. What we have done is filled that first fair value gap on the daily, if I flip over to the daily real quick, this guy right here, we've filled that in. We still have this gap down here hanging out below, right? The top of that comes in around 43.27. So if I flip back over to the 60-minute, we look down here, that would come in right 327, kind of right in here is where that gap would start. So I'll just take this and stretch it up like that. It's kind of right in there. So what I'm looking for this morning is, okay, now, you asked, is this the dip to buy? And it's like, well, I don't know. We got to see what it does. Now that it has filled this in, is that what it was after? We were looking at this yesterday going, well, we still, in the last couple of days, we still got this daily fair value gap sitting just below, right? So now that we've filled that, again, where does it want to go next? And I mentioned that there is a previous new week opening gap. Let's see, what chart where did that go? There it is. Okay. Let's go to a 15-minute here, and you can see this previous new week opening gap hanging down here around that 43.50 area. And it likes to trade new week opening gap to new week opening gap. So, I wouldn't be at all surprised if we trade down into that area. So that's 26 down now from here. No big deal. But let's see if we hold this daily fair value gap. We've got our down here. That was the overnight low. So we've got this pre-market or London session low in here, 43.70. See if we hold that or not. If we find ourselves back below it, fall out of this fair value gap, then ultimately I think it's probably heading to this 43.50 area. 43.20 or 30 to 43.50 is the area that I'm most interested in if we can get down there. I think that, we talked yesterday. We kind of talked about some of these levels where I said, wow, I think we had said if it comes down and fills the bottom of this daily fair value gap, I wouldn't be surprised to see some buying there and a bounce. And sure enough, we got it, right? I think if it sees 43.50, I think we'll probably see a bounce there. But ultimately, I think the buy zone is that 43.20 area. If it can get there, 43.20, 43.30, kind of right in there. That's that 50% retracement, right, off of this move. Talked about the 50% retracement being right in here, 43.26. So,
do you have something about 5 handles up from here?
I'm 5 handles isn't a lot, right?
But
let's
not,
look at.
But it's like when I was flipping through time frames, it seems like there is some shenanigans about 5 handles up when it comes to EMAs, SMAs, depending on various time frames, sitting right there, almost like a pivot. So
5 handles up is the top of that daily fair value gap, which we poked our head out of here, and obviously you can see right here. So that's 6:50 a.m. Eastern. Came right to the top of it, and then back down. So I think that's a good level to keep an eye on. Early, see if we can get above that 43.80. If it can, you can see this stuff right in here. If it pops out of 43.80, kind of pay attention to this area, 83 to 85. Above that, you've got this pre-market high in here, 43.8775. And that would kind of be the level where if it wicks that and comes back down, it's like, okay, I was going to take those out. If it gets above and holds it as support, okay, maybe it can come. So you're going to hear me start talking about the fact that We do have some of these levels that are hanging out here that, start to become, the more of them that get left out here, then, the better chance there is that we get a push up to start taking some of those out, right? It gets like kind of one-sided where, okay, now there's a ton of liquidity that's hanging out by way of stops. This obviously area got taken right here, but the more of these that we leave behind, then, when we do hit that level, that's like, okay, that's what we were looking for. The more of these that they leave behind, it's like, all right, now once they hit the level that they were looking to buy and they start pushing it back up, now we know what our targets are moving back to the upside. But it's kind of like, well, when they take the majority of the liquidity that was below that they were looking for, whatever those stops and levels, whatever they were looking to fill in, once that kind of gets taken and we've taken out, if we go back to the 60-minute, we had all these candles here that, are sources of liquidity. There's stops in here, right? And now that we've filled this back in, it's like, okay, if they want to go lower, where's the stops? Well, you can see there was consolidation kind of right in here, just above that new week opening gap, right? So if that's what it's after and it takes that, maybe it takes that and then starts to move back up. Maybe it comes all the way down here and gives us a 4,300 retest and it takes out, the stops here. But we had all this stuff that was left behind, and now we're going back and kind of taking all that out. Well, once it turns around, now we've got all this stuff on the other side. And it's like when you get to a point where there's more left, above than there is below, you look for that turn. But I think we still got some work to do. We'll see, but I could see him trading down to this new week opening gap. And if that doesn't hold, then ultimately I think it'll probably come take this out.
All right.
4306-ish. What else? Let's see. What time is it? All right. We got 9:07. I'll let you get to. There was another chart I think that you wanted me to cover today, but I'll let Stonkington do his thing, and then we can come back to it if you remember what it was.
Paging Captain Stonkington.
I'm here. I'm ready. It's time. Let's see. Let's get some screen sharing going, and we also have a new world record. Most body modifications by one man. How many? You guys big on body modifications over there?
No. I mean,
you don't want to be the new record holder?
Definitely not. Is this the guy that like turned himself into a werewolf?
No, this guy's looking a little less werewolf-ish. He's got some tats. He's got some gauges.
If he's got the world record, he's got to have like spikes in his head and stuff like that, right?
Oh yeah, he's got some spiky head, spiky eyebrows. What do you guys think? How many? Are you
going to show us a picture or something or no?
I think Discord. Yeah. Are you showing it anywhere?
Yeah.
Damn it, Stockington.
All right.
I thought you said you were ready and it was happening.
I had the picture, but it had the answer. Richie says 4.
Oh, okay.
There we go. There you go. Now someone's gonna be sending that to Chat GPT.
Well, he's got to have like at least like 100 tattoos or something like that. So I'll just go. I'll go 200.
I'm not going to participate in this.
Oh wow!
I'm not participating. It's like self-hate and self-mutilation is just.
No, I'll go 400.
I'm not a fan. I refuse to participate in this and give him any credence of existence.
Wow.
It's like no, dude, no.
For those that are wanting to see this picture, that Stonkington is talking about, this is the guy.
That's the guy. We got
this is right. Why did nobody love him? Did nobody love him? Did nobody say it's okay, buddy? You're fine just the way you are.
Maybe
I
it's just his way to express himself, and it's
maybe
art.
he need not do that.
Okay.
Maybe he just
okay.
find a different fucking hobby. Play golf.
Anyway, Stonkington, what's the
Or
answer?
maybe he should go fishing. Fishing is a great.
Stonkington, what is the answer?
We got a
Before
winner
Hells
here.
like ends up in the hospital.
Yeah, I mean, well, Hells, how do you think that guy feels if he's got people like you saying, "Oh, you should go fishing"? We've got the winner though. It's gonna be Alex. This guy's got 516 body modifications, record holder there.
Wow, it's still low. All right.
All right,
This
let's
is
see.
stupid.
All right,
Redeem yourself with a chart or something that just is redeemable.
oh, it's not like I've got. That's not me in there. Come
You
on.
brought this to the table.
All right, let's do this chart share thing. I'm ready. I got him going.
I don't see it.
All right, let me try again.
Do we really want to see what he's going to post next? It's like, honestly.
Yes, you're gonna like this. We got smash burgers.
No, okay. I like a smash burger.
Yeah. I tried again. Nothing.
I'm not seeing it, Stonkington.
All right, let me do. I'll try this entire screen. How about now?
No, sir.
All right. Well, I'm trying. Okay. I'll just start dropping charts. Let's see. So we've got the smash burger potential on the Qs and the SPY daily. I got these marked up, so this should
Oh,
be
we got it. We got it. We're up.
okay. Cool.
There you go.
All right. So again, failed breakout is the smash burger. So yesterday we closed below Friday's low, which would mean we'd be looking for a long setup with the smash burger. Breaking above yesterday's high is the entry, and the stop would be yesterday's low on both SPY and Qs. So that is in play. I have alerts set that will pop in the room, and that's, can't get simpler than that, right? So that's the setup.
Yeah, so the last couple of burgers you've thrown out there have played out really, really well.
Yeah, and it's like
I think the last one that we had, it's like the market opened, it dumped, and that flashback candle was so ridiculous and nonstop. Pretty wild, pretty wild. So I'll be on alert for the smash burger.
Yeah, yep, and it's a long setup, so we just wait for those to hit. And then Hell's mentioned the importance of semis and the flow. I posted the dark pool there in the room, and this is the line, the thick line. 23% average 30-day came in yesterday. And
we did have sorry, I don't want to interrupt, but we did have pre-market dark pools on AMD coming in at 107.51. They smashed those several times, different volume levels. And like we said at the top, AMD's down like a 1,000,000% in like 3 days.
So there you go. Yeah, I mean, to me, this looks like a big old falling wedge right onto where they hit it with the dark pool. So if we're going to push up, I'd be looking at that 149.15. If we're going to push down, I'd be looking at 145.50, which would be this fib right here. So that's what we got on the SMH. Definitely the setup potentially matching some of the flow we saw yesterday. And then if we jump over, we got the Russell. So, here we're still respecting this kind of falling channel here. I also see maybe a weird looking inverse head and shoulders, but it kind of would have already popped the neckline there. So if I'm focusing on Mr. T, areas that need to be, that people got caught off balance or whatever, we have this little fair value gap here on the hourly. Here's another one above. So these would be potential upside targets. I marked this green. Oh, I guess you guys probably can't see that too great. So that line is basically I was aiming for the midpoint of this red candle right here because it was followed by an aggressive push higher. So Mr. T would say that would be our order block. So if we're going to pull back, I'm going to be looking on the Russell 1813 30 there would be what I'll have on watch there for the Russell. So kind of just going to see what we get. Flow wise, we saw some calls on IWM out to the middle of July. So we're just kind of going to keep an eye on that. If we jump over to the NASDAQ, let's see. So here's an hourly, also in this kind of descending megaphone setup. Let's jump to the 4 hour. You can see this 4 hour fair value gap will be our downside target. Here's how was mentioned yesterday's low on the NASDAQ. So if we break that, then this fair value gap, we could see a move down to 823.50. Also, if we jump back over to the hourly, to me, this is kind of looking a bit more like a bear flag than the ES does not really as much anymore. But if we look, we got this kind of thing going on. So we'll see upside targets would be this fair value gap here. 15.015.50 is the top of it, and then the little pink box is the new week opening gap. So we'll see. Obviously already kind of mitigated and traded through all that. So let's see if we jump over to some individual tickers. Let's see. I had Netflix on the list for today. Let's see. Let's zoom in here. So it's got this kind of falling megaphone thing going on as well. Let's see. Marked up this line here because you can see the reaction to it. 414.90. We kind of bounced off it there. Had some rejections in this area in the past. And then above, I'm going to be looking at this fib, basically 419 flat. Just round number, psychological level. Clearly had a bunch of reactions to it. We worked as support becomes resistance over here. So if we're going to go up, that's what the area I will be watching on Netflix is going to be 419. And then above, we've got some of these dark pools with decent size. Friday was a very active dark pool, a lot of repositioning, end of the quarter stuff. So so that's what I'd be watching above on Netflix. The other one will be NVIDIA. I'll mention some of the flow. And below, I'm going to basically be looking at yesterday's low. It's pretty conservative put trigger. You could, if you were wanting to be aggressive, you could probably look at this line here. Let's see.
So with NVIDIA specifically, I'd be keeping my eyes peeled on those 415 and 420 calls to see if they flip bid. And also at the number of 400 and 390 puts that were stamping yesterday for this weekend next. Again, I would keep my eyes peeled to see how those are coming in. Are they hit? It's like, are they doubling down or are they flipping out one side or the other when it comes to NVIDIA? NVIDIA had a shit ton of activity yesterday. Very powerful activity. So I would be very, very peeled on NVIDIA flow if I were even thinking about pulling a trade on that one.
Yeah, makes sense. Agreed. So yeah, can kind of see the importance of these fibs, these lines. If you wanted to be really aggressive, you could look at 404.85, and then next is where these reactions came in. That's 401.20, and then we got some dark pool and fibs below in this area here. But that's all I got.
All right, very good. So we get data 30 minutes after open. We get bank stress tests. I think we get PCE on Friday. We get some other datas. Overnight was pretty mixed. You had China up when they tried to strengthen the yuan. You had Japan. Japan's been in a little bit of a, I don't want to say tailspin, but it is giving back a lot of that ATH activity that it was throwing up here last month. So Japan was a little bit soft again. Europe kind of flat to mixed, just dopey over there. And we're coming in looking kind of dopey at the same time. One thing to pay attention to, the NASDAQ overnight was stronger than the Dow by far. We've seen these things kind of flip intraday to where whatever we see overnight is not what actually takes place during the day. So I would keep my eyes kind of peeled on that one also, just to continue to watch that overall divergence. And I think that becomes that much more critical when it comes to these stress tests that are going to be coming out tomorrow. It's like, what's that activity going to be coming into it? We know that there haven't been a lot of buyers there. There's been a lot of sellers. It's like, how are they going to come off of those short positions? We saw large bid side puts come in on Bank of America a couple of days ago did not play out in a positive way as far as it moving to the upside. It actually drifted further lower. JPM had a couple of interesting calls. If there's a bank that's going to come through clean, odds are it's JPM. Wells Fargo activity has been decent to the upside. But just I think it's a big piece of the puzzle that we've been looking at with that sector, how it's lagged so substantially. Is this the catalyst for the ultimate move on banks? Does this bring us back to, let's say, whole as far as having a broad market rally instead of pockets moving while others suffer? So I think tomorrow is a bigger deal than what people are alluding to. But ultimately, we shall see. Again, Bender, it's like SPY came right up into that area just below and rejected. So I'm going to use this 432.50 for me as a pivot in a lot of ways. If we pop it and hold, I think you have to get long. If we continue to reject and turn it down, I think you got to look short. It's like there's something there. This 432.50, kind of market circle it, think about it. But that's all I got. You guys have anything else?
Well, we didn't quite make it back to the top of that daily fair value gap, that level that we were talking about. But here's the Bitcoin chart, just for the crypto players out there. Another chart that we've been keeping an eye on. Real quick, you can see this move up, pull back to that golden ratio between 50% and 61.8% retracement, and then ultimately that push higher. We ran to the 1618 extension of this move, right? So not surprising to see some resistance up in here, but you can see kind of what the trend has been. Pull back to 50% and then push. And then if we measure this move, pulled back to that same golden ratio between 50%, 61.8%, and then it gets the pop and push. So I'm going to be tracking kind of the top of this current leg up right now. A pullback to 28K or so would be a 50% retracement of this current move. Also keeping this level right in here on watch. This is up around 32,380 or so. This would be the level that I would keep very close eye on. If it gets through this and is able to pull back and hold that as support, then I would expect that it goes and fills in some of this down move back in here, probably up over 35K. If it gets through it and then rejects and starts to push down, then I would be thinking that, okay, maybe that's the liquidity that it was going for, and potentially in for a little bit bigger pullback. But right now it just keeps marching higher. We talk about the connection between the S&P or general market and the connection between that and the relationship between that and Bitcoin. And normally when you see divergence, at some point they come back together, right? And what we can see here is, the 4-hour chart, we can see Bitcoin moving up while the ES is having this little pullback now. What we had talked about last week is that, generally speaking, the markets, I think or at least ES and NQ had taken those August 2022 highs, and Bitcoin had not done that yet, I believe. That's what we were looking at. I have to go back and look. Well, this looks like it's August, so that would tell me that it has. There was a high that was left out there that I had said, it looks like Bitcoin is playing catch up, and it actually may be this. What was that? May. Let's go look. I don't know. It was lagging, taking one of those highs, and I can't remember exactly where we're looking at. But anyway, zooming in and looking at, kind of the last week or so of price action, you can see our last couple weeks, you can see this move up. Let's see, going back to the 17th, 16th, 15th, back to about the 15th when, the ES started to make this move down. Bitcoin has just been pushing. So at some point, I expect that they will kind of come back together. Now, that could mean that Bitcoin just consolidates up here, right? And ES pulls down to that. Maybe it holds here, maybe it pulls down to that 4330 area and then reverses and starts heading back up. Because right now, this is still just a normal, healthy pullback, cool off a little bit. Be great if Bitcoin could consolidate up here and ES hits that level and then starts pushing up and we can get them running together. Yeah. Anyway, so that's just kind of a quick where we're at when it comes with the Bitcoin.
All right. Thank you, Bender. All right.
Thank you,
Stonkington. Thank you, Bender. We got about 5 minutes until open. Really, check that. Scratch that. We have about 4 minutes until open. 4 minutes until open. Thanks, fellas, for bringing everything to the table this morning. Let's have a good day. See you guys soon.
All right, that's all you get. We'll try to play an entire song next time. Thanks for joining in, and we do this every morning, so we'll see you tomorrow.